It began as a quiet movie night in a small house in Seattle, the kind of calm evening Emily Parker had grown used to over the past few years, where soft rain tapped against the windows and the warm glow of the television filled the living room while she and her 16-year-old son Liam sat comfortably on the couch. Emily had just finished making popcorn and placed the bowl on the coffee table, smiling as Liam scrolled through the streaming menu, trying to pick something they could both enjoy. And moments like this meant a lot to her, because life had changed so much since her husband Daniel passed away 5 years earlier. Daniel had been a loving father and a kind husband, and losing him had left a deep silence in their home. Yet Emily had worked hard to keep their lives steady, balancing long shifts as a nurse while raising Liam with patience and care, and over time mother and son had grown closer through shared routines like their weekly movie nights. Liam finally chose a movie, and the lights in the room dimmed while the story began playing on the screen. But after about 20 minutes, Emily noticed something unusual, because Liam was not really watching the film, his attention drifting again and again to his phone, and then back to the screen as if his mind was somewhere else. Emily had learned to notice small emotional changes in people through years of working at the hospital, and now she could clearly see that her son seemed nervous about something. Instead of ignoring it, she gently pressed the remote and paused the movie, turning slightly toward him with a calm expression. Liam looked up with mild surprise, as if he had been pulled out of deep thought, and Emily asked softly if everything was all right. Liam hesitated for a moment before answering that things were mostly fine, though the hesitation in his voice told her there was more behind the words. She leaned back against the couch and waited patiently, knowing that sometimes silence allowed people to gather their courage. After a few seconds, Liam placed his phone on the table and rubbed his hands together as if trying to organize his thoughts. He said there was something he had been meaning to tell her for a long time, but had never known when the right moment would come. Emily felt curiosity rising, but she remained calm because she did not want him to feel pressured. When Liam finally spoke again, his voice was quieter and more serious than before, and he said the thing he needed to talk about was connected to his father. Hearing Daniel's name instantly brought a gentle ache to Emily's chest, because even after several years, the memory of him remained vivid in her heart. She asked carefully what Liam meant, wondering whether he had remembered something from the past or simply wanted to talk about his feelings. Liam explained that a few months before Daniel passed away, they had shared several long conversations together, moments when father and son spoke openly about life, family, and the future. During one of those talks, Daniel had asked Liam to remember something important and to tell Emily about it someday, when the time felt right. Emily's curiosity deepened because she had never known about this request, and she wondered why Daniel had chosen to give the message to Liam instead of telling her directly. Liam looked at his mother with thoughtful eyes that seemed older than his 16 years. Then he took a slow breath before revealing the message he had carried quietly for so long. He explained that Daniel had told him he worried about Emily's loneliness after he was gone, not because she was weak, but because she cared deeply for the people she loved. Daniel believed that love should not end when life changes unexpectedly, and that the people left behind still deserve happiness and companionship in the future. When Liam repeated those words, Emily felt emotion rising in her chest because she had spent years focusing only on work and motherhood, never allowing herself to imagine a new chapter beyond the life she once shared with Daniel. Liam continued explaining that his father had said something else during that conversation, telling him that when the right moment arrived, Liam should remind Emily that opening her heart again would never be a betrayal of the past, but rather a continuation of the love and kindness she had always shared with others. Emily wiped a tear from the corner of her eye while listening, realizing how thoughtful Daniel had been even during the most difficult time of his life. She asked Liam quietly why he had decided to share the message now after so many years, and Liam answered that recently he had started noticing something that made him believe the time might finally be right. Emily looked at him with confusion because she could not imagine what had changed. Liam hesitated slightly before explaining that over the past few months, someone in their lives had been showing small signs of interest in Emily, respectful gestures and quiet kindness that might have gone unnoticed by her but were obvious to him. Emily blinked in surprise because she had never considered that possibility. Her days were usually filled with hospital shifts, grocery shopping, and helping Liam with school matters, leaving little room to think about her own personal life. Yet Liam seemed confident that what he had observed was real. He explained that the person was someone they already knew, someone who had been present around them often, but never crossed any boundaries out of respect. Emily's curiosity grew stronger now, and she asked gently who he was talking about. But Liam simply smiled in a mysterious way and said that he wanted to explain everything slowly so she could understand the full picture first. The quiet living room felt different now compared to the calm movie night they had planned earlier because the conversation had opened a door to emotions and possibilities Emily had not expected to face that evening. As the rain outside softened and the television screen remained paused in silence, Emily realized that her son was about to reveal something that might change the way she looked at the future, and what began as a simple movie night had quietly turned into the moment when the truth Daniel left behind would finally begin to shape the next chapter of her life. The living room remained quiet after Liam shared his father's message, and the paused movie screen cast a soft blue light across the walls, while Emily tried to process everything she had just heard. She had always believed that her life after Daniel's passing would remain simple and focused only on raising Liam, yet now her son was gently suggesting that something else might be waiting for her, something she had never allowed herself to imagine. Liam noticed the thoughtful expression on his mother's face and spoke carefully, explaining that he had not wanted to rush the conversation, but felt it was important to share what he had observed during the past few months. Emily asked him again who he was talking about, and Liam smiled slightly before leaning forward with a quiet confidence that surprised her. He explained that the person was someone they both already trusted, someone who had been part of their lives in small but meaningful ways for a long time. Emily's curiosity grew stronger as she searched her memory for anyone who fit that description, but before she could guess, Liam finally said the name, Mark Reynolds. The moment she heard it, Emily blinked in surprise, because Mark was someone she knew very well. He lived only a few houses down the street and had been their neighbor for almost 3 years. Mark was a middle school teacher known in the neighborhood for his calm personality and friendly smile, and he often helped people with small things like fixing fences or carrying groceries. Emily had always thought of him as a kind neighbor and nothing more. Liam continued explaining that Mark had quietly supported them in ways that might seem small, but were actually thoughtful gestures. When Emily worked late shifts at the hospital, Mark sometimes helped Liam with homework, especially math. When winter storms covered the sidewalks, Mark often cleared the path in front of Emily's house before she returned home, and during community events, he always greeted her warmly but respectfully, never staying too long or making her uncomfortable. Emily remembered these moments clearly now, realizing how often Mark had appeared in their lives without ever asking for anything in return. Liam said he began noticing something else over time. The way Mark looked at Emily when they spoke, not in a strange or inappropriate way, but with quiet admiration, like someone who respected her strength and kindness. At first, Liam ignored the thought, because he knew his mother still carried the memory of Daniel deeply in her heart, but the more he watched their interactions, the more he believed Mark's feelings were genuine. Emily listened silently, feeling both surprised and thoughtful because she had never considered the possibility. Mark had always been polite and friendly, and she had appreciated his kindness, yet she had never looked at him through the lens Liam was describing. Liam then revealed another detail that surprised her even more. A few weeks earlier, Mark had spoken with Liam privately, after helping him repair his bicycle in the driveway. During that conversation, Mark had carefully asked whether Emily was doing well, and whether Liam believed she was happy. Liam sensed that Mark's question came from genuine care rather than curiosity, and after a moment Mark admitted that he admired Emily greatly, but would never say anything that might make her uncomfortable. He explained that he understood how important Daniel's memory was, and that he respected the family's history. He simply hoped that someday Emily might find happiness again, whether with him or with someone else who treated her well. When Liam heard those words, he remembered the message Daniel had asked him to share years earlier, and suddenly everything seemed to connect. He realized that perhaps the right moment to tell his mother had finally arrived. Emily felt a mixture of emotions while hearing this story, including surprise, warmth, and a little uncertainty. She appreciated that Mark had never crossed any boundaries and that he respected her feelings enough to remain patient and quiet. Liam watched her carefully and explained that he did not expect her to make any decisions right away. He simply wanted her to know the truth because Daniel had believed she deserved the chance to open her heart again if the right person appeared. Emily leaned back against the couch and looked around the room that held so many memories of her past life with Daniel, and for the first time she allowed herself to imagine the possibility of a future that included new friendships and perhaps even new happiness. She asked Liam whether Mark knew about Daniel's message, and Liam shook his head, explaining that he had never told anyone about it until tonight. Emily took a slow breath and smiled gently at her son, realizing how much courage it must have taken for him to carry that secret for so many years and then share it with such care. The rain outside had stopped completely now, leaving the night quiet and calm. Liam picked up the remote and asked softly if she wanted to finish the movie, but Emily shook her head with a small laugh, admitting that her mind was far too full for that. Instead, they sat together for a few more minutes, talking about small memories of Daniel, remembering his humor and kindness, and somehow the conversation felt lighter than before. When Liam finally went upstairs to his room, Emily remained in the living room thinking about everything that had happened. The simple movie night had turned into something far more meaningful, revealing a truth she had never expected to hear. Somewhere nearby, perhaps only a few houses away, Mark Reynolds was living his ordinary evening without knowing that Liam had just shared the secret he had carefully hidden for months. Emily looked out the window at the quiet street and wondered what tomorrow might feel like now that she understood the feelings that had quietly existed around her. She did not know exactly what the future would hold, but for the first time in many years, she felt the possibility of change, and the truth her son revealed had opened a new chapter she had never imagined when the movie first began. The house felt quieter than usual after Liam went upstairs, and Emily remained on the couch for a long time staring at the blank television screen while the conversation from earlier continued moving through her thoughts. The idea that Mark Reynolds might care about her in a deeper way seemed almost impossible to believe at first, because for years she had focused only on work, raising Liam, and protecting the memories she shared with Daniel. Yet now those memories were standing beside a new possibility she had never allowed herself to consider. The next morning, Emily woke early for her hospital shift, and as she drove through the cool Seattle streets, she found herself noticing things differently, wondering whether she had missed small signs from Mark during the past months. She remembered the winter morning when he cleared snow from her walkway before she returned from a night shift, the afternoon he helped Liam fix the broken bicycle chain in their driveway, and the time he carried several grocery bags from her car when he saw her struggling after a long day at work. Those moments had always felt like simple acts of kindness, but now they carried a new meaning she had never explored before. Throughout her shift, Emily remained focused on her patients, yet during quiet breaks, her mind returned to Liam's words and to Daniel's message from years earlier, the one that encouraged her not to close her heart forever. By the time her shift ended, the sky had turned gray again with the promise of rain, and Emily drove home slowly while thinking about what she should do next. When she arrived, Liam was already home from school and greeted her with a knowing smile that made her laugh softly because he clearly understood she had spent the day thinking about everything they discussed. They sat together at the kitchen table while Emily prepared a quick dinner, and Liam gently asked how she felt now that she had time to reflect. Emily admitted that she was still surprised but no longer confused because Daniel's message had helped her see the situation with calm understanding rather than fear. She told Liam that love and loyalty could exist alongside new friendships without erasing the past, something Daniel himself had believed strongly. Liam nodded proudly because he knew his father would have wanted Emily to find happiness again. A few days passed quietly, and life seemed almost normal again until one evening when Emily returned home from work and noticed Mark standing near the mailbox across the street holding a small package. He waved politely when he saw her, and for a brief moment Emily felt nervous in a way she had not expected. Normally their conversations were simple and casual, but now she was aware of the feelings Liam had described. Mark walked over with his usual friendly smile and explained that a delivery driver had accidentally left the package near his door earlier, so he wanted to bring it over immediately. Emily thanked him warmly, noticing the same calm kindness she had always appreciated. They stood in the driveway talking for a few minutes about everyday things, the changing weather, Liam's school schedule, and the busy week at the hospital. And Emily realized that nothing about Mark's behavior felt forced or uncomfortable. Instead, he remained respectful and thoughtful exactly as Liam had described. Before leaving, Mark hesitated slightly as if considering whether to say something else, but he simply wished Emily a good evening and walked back toward his house. Emily watched him go, feeling a quiet curiosity growing inside her because she now understood that behind those ordinary moments might exist feelings he had carefully chosen not to reveal. Later that night, Emily spoke with Liam again, telling him about the brief conversation in the driveway and how natural it felt. Liam listened with interest and then gently reminded her that Mark had never tried to pressure her because he respected her situation. Emily agreed, saying that respect was the most important part of any relationship. Over the next week, Emily and Mark crossed paths several times in small neighborhood moments, walking their trash bins to the curb, passing each other near the grocery store, or exchanging quick greetings while Liam practiced basketball in the driveway, and each time their conversations lasted slightly longer than before, slowly building a sense of comfort that felt honest rather than rushed. One evening, while Liam was finishing homework inside, Emily stepped outside to water the plants near the porch and saw Mark trimming a small tree in his yard. He waved and walked over to ask how her week had been, and the two of them began talking about work, family memories, and even Daniel's love of old movies, something Mark remembered from neighborhood conversations years earlier. Emily appreciated the way Mark spoke about Daniel with genuine respect, never acting as if the past should be forgotten. During that conversation, Emily realized that the unusual truth Liam revealed during movie night had quietly changed the way she looked at the world around her, not by pushing her toward a decision, but by opening her eyes to the possibility that life could still hold unexpected connections. When the evening air grew colder, Mark wished her a good night and returned home, leaving Emily standing on the porch with a thoughtful smile. Inside the house, Liam looked up from his books and asked if everything was all right, and Emily answered softly that things were beginning to make sense. She still did not know exactly what the future might hold, but the truth her son shared had allowed her to see kindness and care where she once saw only ordinary moments. And somewhere deep inside, she felt that Daniel's message from years ago was guiding her gently toward a new chapter she was finally ready to explore. The days after that quiet evening on the porch moved forward gently, and Emily began noticing how the small routines of life felt slightly different now that she understood the truth Liam had revealed during their movie night. Nothing dramatic changed at first, yet the awareness that Mark cared about her added a quiet warmth to everyday moments that once passed without much thought. One Saturday morning, the sky over Seattle was clear for the first time in several days, and Emily decided to spend the morning cleaning the front yard while Liam helped organize the garage. As she gathered fallen leaves near the sidewalk, she noticed Mark walking toward her carrying 2 cups of coffee from the small cafe down the street. He greeted her with his usual calm smile and said he thought she might enjoy a warm drink while working outside. Emily laughed softly at the thoughtful gesture and thanked him, realizing how naturally their conversations had begun to flow over the past week. They stood near the fence, talking about simple things like the changing weather and Liam's upcoming school activities, and the ease of the moment made Emily feel comfortable rather than nervous. While they talked, Liam stepped outside for a moment and greeted Mark cheerfully before returning to the garage, leaving the 2 adults alone again. Mark seemed slightly thoughtful then, as if deciding whether to say something important, and Emily sensed the same quiet hesitation she had noticed before. After a moment, he spoke honestly, explaining that he hoped his presence in their lives had never made things awkward or uncomfortable, because he respected Emily and Liam too much to cause any tension. Emily appreciated the sincerity in his voice and answered that his kindness had always been welcome in their home, especially during the years when life felt difficult after Daniel's passing. Mark nodded gently and said that he admired how strong Emily had been while raising Liam and continuing her work at the hospital, adding that the entire neighborhood respected her dedication. Hearing those words made Emily smile because she realized that Mark saw her not only as a neighbor, but as someone he genuinely admired. For a moment the conversation paused in comfortable silence before Mark admitted something he had carefully avoided saying directly before. He explained that over time he had come to care about Emily deeply, but he never wanted to place pressure on her or interfere with the memories she shared with Daniel. He simply hoped that if she ever felt ready for a new chapter in life, she would know that someone nearby valued her happiness. Emily listened quietly, remembering Liam's words and the message Daniel had left behind years earlier, encouraging her not to close her heart forever. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, she felt calm, as if the moment had arrived naturally after many small steps of understanding. She told Mark that losing Daniel had changed her life in ways that were difficult to describe, but it had also taught her how precious honest connections could be. She explained that for a long time she believed opening her heart again might feel like forgetting the past, yet Liam had recently reminded her that Daniel himself believed love should never stop someone from finding happiness again. Mark looked surprised but grateful when she shared that story, realizing that Emily's journey toward this moment had been guided by both memory and courage. Emily then said something that made the morning feel brighter than the clear sky above them, telling Mark that she appreciated his patience and respect more than he probably realized. She admitted that she was not ready to rush into anything complicated, but she would like to spend more time together as friends and see where life might naturally lead. Mark's smile grew wider with quiet relief, because he understood that trust and comfort take time to grow. They finished their coffee while talking about small plans like walking through the neighborhood park or attending the next community event together. When Liam returned outside, he noticed the relaxed expressions on both faces and immediately sensed that something important had happened, though he did not ask questions. Instead, he joked that if they kept talking much longer, the yard work would never be finished, making everyone laugh. The rest of the day passed peacefully as Emily and Liam completed their chores while Mark worked on his own garden across the street, occasionally waving when their eyes met. That evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the rooftops, Emily stood by the same living room window where the story had quietly begun during movie night, reflecting on how one simple conversation with her son had opened a path she never expected to walk. She realized that the truth Liam revealed had not pushed her away from Daniel's memory, but had helped her honor his final wish, that she continue living with hope rather than loneliness. When Liam joined her in the room, she placed an arm around his shoulder and thanked him for having the courage to share his father's message at the right moment. Liam smiled proudly because he knew his father would have been happy to see them both moving forward with peace in their hearts. Outside the window, the quiet neighborhood lights began to glow one by one, and somewhere across the street, Mark was finishing his evening walk, unaware that the simple movie night had already changed Emily's life in a gentle and hopeful way, proving that sometimes the truth revealed by the people we love can guide us toward a future filled with new possibilities while still honoring the memories that shaped our past.